My name is Tim, and welcome to the first episode of Tim's Secret Seminar. It's so secret I got a sheet hiding over the door so nobody can see what we're doing. The purpose of this series is to help people who have foolishly signed up for a doctoral program and to help them get through the process of researching and writing. I wanted to share some of the collective wisdom that I have gained along the way. I was very fortunate to have a pretty powerful and great learning experience at Teachers College, Columbia University, where I finished my doctoral degree last year in 2017. And I had a great advisor, and I had the privilege to work with a lot of great doctoral students. So I wanted to share the things that we have discovered collectively. Just clarify that I'm speaking to you in reference to research and education. I found while I was going through the process and looking at other fields that sometimes the resources or suggestions, or especially the terminology, just didn't seem to equate well or translate well to what I was doing. I think at the end of the day, when we get to the doctoral level, that each field gets very specialized in its way of thinking about things and the way it necessarily it might structure an argument. Certainly the body of knowledge that it relies on is very, very specialized. So what I intend to do at this early stage of the series is to prepare you for the literature review. I'm going to be addressing mindset and some resources and some basic practices that get you through this process. Specifically, in reference to note-taking, documentation, reading, and basically the things we do for preparing to write. So let me talk to you about a couple of self-practices. The first practice is you need to take care of yourself. You need to get sunshine, you need to get exercise, you need to have a good diet. And the doctoral process is arduous, and it is long-term. And depending upon your doctoral experience, it's going to weigh more or less heavily on your psychology. Depending upon your life circumstances, you're trying to, whatever you're trying to juggle in your own life in addition to your doctoral experience, there's a lot of pressure, and you need to find healthy ways of working with that pressure. I tried the alcohol phase, it was fun for a little bit, and then it just wasn't working for me. Then there's the sugar binge craze, these things they come in and out of your life. There was the sit on the sofa for 3 months straight and write phase, and almost not see the light of day kind of thing. And I just want to remind you that excess, too much of any one thing is a bad thing, especially for sustained periods of time. And at the end of the day, the body and the mind are linked, so keep your body healthy, keep your mind healthy. Lots of vegetables, get regular doses of fresh air. If you are one of those awesome people that can establish a schedule for yourself because either you're just like that or because your lifestyle is conducive to that, then good for you. Okay, these are good things. If you're not, then let me just be another voice in your life to tell you that you got to look out for yourself. Okay, self-care. Be healthy. All right. I think exercise is good because there come these points where time away from work. Your brain doesn't stop working while you are away from your doctoral work. I've done some of my best thinking while I was on a 20-mile bike ride. I think an important thing to remember is that ideas do not come to you when you want them to come to you. Thinking takes time. In fact, you need to schedule time for thinking. Okay, you need to schedule time from thinking away from times of doing, and that was kind of an important realization for me, because none of this goes as fast as you want it to, and part of the delays in the process are delays in the administrative wheels turning too slow. Just whatever hurdles your advisor sets up for you, but also your own mind. Learning and discovery take time, lots of time, especially at this level. Okay. The other important self-practice, a little more psychologically related, is about you and your ego. Academia is a precarious place for people with delicate egos. That source of self-concept that you have, it gets trampled upon in academia. All right, I would say it's it's part of the process. Okay, so check your ego at the door. All right, the whole point of this doctoral experience is rigor. Rigor has to come from somewhere. All right, sure, it should come from yourself as well. But even when you do try your hardest, remember, you are not entitled to a doctoral degree. Okay, just because you happen to sign up and pay the tuition and got accepted to an institution, it doesn't work that way. I think many doctoral advisors would see it, especially those who are very, very research focused, is that you have an obligation to the field to produce good work, and they have an obligation to hold up your work, your thoughts to the field to see how they measure up. And if your ideas are crap, they have an obligation to tell you so. It's just part of the process. Okay, so we're not in grade school degree anymore. We're not even in a master's degree anymore, where professors are kind of nodding appreciatively because you contributed something to the classroom discussion. All right. We're at that point now where contribution is not enough, or in fact, contribution is measured by different terms. It's measured by the extent to which you actually contribute and not just share your own ideas. Okay, you need to put new bricks in the wall. Okay, so you don't just paint the wall a different color. So today I want to talk to you about research practices. We're at that stage of the literature review, and this is like your first semester of the seminar. You've got to write a literature review. If you went through master's program somewhere, you don't necessarily get a lot of experience, if any, on how to write a literature review. Not to the level that's required for a doctoral degree. So I want to provide you a little bit of guidance on that. Okay, so I'm going to be tackling. Let's talk about reading practices. Okay. Your first obligation in building a literature review is you have to read a lot. Right? You're at a doctoral level. Your goal is to get a 50,000-foot view of your field, and then from there figure out where your area of focus is, and then after that, what your particular research question is. And I want to talk about the research question right now, and where does that research question come from? The first place that a research question can come from is if your doctoral advisor has a particular research question, because they have a larger research agenda and they want you to contribute to that. And it's your job to answer that question so they can contribute to a larger project that they have in view. And so very often you've got multiple doctoral students working on different aspects of an advisor's research agenda. So they might give you a research question to ask. Okay. You might also come into your program with a very focused sense of what you want to study and what you want to know. Well, that's great. If you can articulate that in terms of a research question, that's awesome. But I would also argue is, what about the source of your research question and its results? Just because you're asking the question does not mean that that question has not been answered elsewhere. Okay, so you might be starting out and the answer is already out there, and in that respect, you're asking something that the field already knows. So you are not contributing another brick to the field, all right, to the wall, if you will. The other place that research questions come, and it is kind of an understanding that I was trained with, is you need to see what the field has to say, what it's already covered, and where the gaps are. Okay, so you need to survey the literature to find out what's been said and what still has yet to be determined. Okay. So in a way, it's the research, it's the literature that is going to guide you towards a research question. Okay, regardless of where your research question comes from, any of those three sources that I've just mentioned, you still have the obligations of a literature review to accomplish, essentially the same thing, which is determine that 50,000-foot view. Focus in on relevant issues, and wherever that source of your research question comes in, you need to basically argue for the place of your research question, whatever its source, and its to the connections with the broader literature. Okay, so you're going to be reading widely. Let's look at a couple of resources for when you're reading widely. All right, so you need some way of documenting and re-accessing the literature. My computer is filled with PDFs of studies that I have downloaded over time. I've got a bookshelf full of books. I probably spend a bit too much on Amazon. You basically are building a mini library for yourself. Okay, I've got hundreds of studies in my computer, and I've got dozens and dozens of books on my particular topic. All right. Sometimes your literature reviewer, it requires you to go find that book. So you know what? Interlibrary loan, photocopiers, PDF scans, downloads. You need to prepare yourself to go to follow the literature trail. Okay. Along the way, you need to start documenting, this stuff. So you need to build a citation database, and you're going to need that citation database not only to store these citations in a way that are quickly usable for creating your publication, but as a way of quickly of citing them. And so I used EndNote when I was doing my degree. Because there was a free subscription. It's not free. I had to pay tuition at the university. But included in the price of tuition was a subscription to EndNote. Store that database in the cloud and on your hard drive, and make backups of your hard drive. Okay, you do not want to lose that database. Okay, and I'm telling you, you don't want to keep it locally either as the sole place. You do cloud backup and you do local backup of all your work. If you are not backing up on a daily basis, you're stupid. One day I happened to be riding down the road on my motorcycle. I had my laptop on the back of the motorcycle, and the bag came loose on the highway and it exploded. Fortunately, I back everything up religiously. And I promise you, it happens, and it will happen. And, that's part of when you use computers long enough, you make sure you back up. So don't say I didn't tell you. I can't emphasize that one. But you back up your reading library. You back up the manuscripts that you're writing, and you back up your EndNote, or in my case, I use Zotero, which is awesome, and it's free. You back up that library too, and so you have one copy on your computer, one copy on a physical backup that's right next to your computer, and then something on the cloud. Why do you have the two backups, one remote and one distant? Well, if somebody breaks into your house and decides they're going to steal your laptop and your local backup drive is there, they're going to take that too. So you need something remote. Furthermore, I mean, you can't bring your laptop everywhere you go. Finally, look, devices fail. You can have, if it's not somebody coming in and stealing your laptop, it's called, lightning strikes literally, and your electrical system's fried locally. And then the other reason I found when I did have a local failure is that it can take a really long time to download from the cloud back onto your computer. And there, if you have a local backup, things tend to go a whole lot faster. So you can get up and running with a small amount of documents that you get from local backup. But the cloud backup is going to, it's going to keep everything safe. What I actually found was, for the one time that I did have a failure, if you will, that the local hard drive, my little hard drive that's sitting back behind my computer here, I got most of my hard drive restored by that, and I got it done quickly. But it didn't have the absolute latest version. Because I basically have my cloud backup on continuous mode, it was basically backing things up, every 5 minutes or every time I changed a file. Okay, Dropbox, it's a good one, right? I use Dropbox and I use iDrive. That's currently what I'm working with. All right. And the nice thing was that I had. Let's say my failure happened on a Monday. I was able to get Sunday morning's backup onto my computer, which got me within 24 hours. But I had made a whole bunch of important edits Sunday afternoon and Sunday night, and so I was able to download the most recent version, even closer to the last version I left off with from my cloud backup. Okay, the point is that your work schedule and your backup schedules don't necessarily match up neatly. So if you have a real productive afternoon, you want to make sure you even hit the manual backup button. Okay, all right. So we talked about backing up, and I think I mentioned the citation software management. I use Zotero. I like it. It's got a drag and drop feature so that I can drag and drop references in. It integrates with Word pretty well, and it's free. You can't beat that. Finally, I wanted to share another resource that I didn't use personally, but I had a couple of friends who did. There's a piece of software out there called Scrivener, which apparently helps you in the drafting process. It's got capacity to organize information, perhaps create outlines, and put down rough drafts. So there are, so far we got two digital tools, right? We got the Zotero, we got the Scrivener, and of course there's the one I use, which is Microsoft Word. So there we are. Anyway, I hope today's chat was useful for you in terms of goal setting and attitude setting. As we move through the subsequent episodes, I'll get more into some more detailed suggestions relevant to the research process and ultimately the writing process. So, see you next time.